I actually got the example of a seed. So like when a seed is in baby form, like when you put it into the ground, you almost have to crush it. So if you didn't know any better, like if you weren't a farmer, if you didn't know the process, it would look like you're actually going to crush and destroy the seed. But actually like breaking up that seed is what allows it to go into the ground and then eventually like become a harvest of something. Yeah. So that was kind of the example and the imagery that I was given. And I was like, okay, I'm just being broken right now. I'm going to be underground for a little bit. It's going to be hard, but eventually like I'll break through the surface and something will come of it. You know, everyone was so excited. Like you could be the youngest player, you know, to play in the Olympics. And that's like, I'm a little bit of a people pleaser sometimes. So I think like, oh wow, I have to do this for all of us. And I got cut, and I think that was the first significant failure for me, where it was like where I've failed. But I think for years after, I really let that shut me down in a lot of ways. I was able to go out there and do what I needed to do, but I could tell like my mind was just off somewhere else. My heart wasn't in it. Like it didn't matter if I had a good game. I was upset with myself. I was hard on myself. It got to a point actually, like I got a concussion a few years later that put me out for a year and a half. I think after kind of getting injured and having that time off, now I've like got perspective on things. Each season has come with its challenges, but I feel like I always get the breath of fresh air. I always get to come up for broad, like it always come right on time where I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna keep going. Before you start looking outward, you have to hold a mirror up to yourself and recognize the patterns that you talked about. Because I just had to figure out who I was, which was so much bigger than hockey. You know, this, like disappointment's gonna happen, and I think where my family, where we've had our success, and I think this is what people see without being able to name that, is being able to wrestle well with disappointment. Yeah. But I think it's in the beat down where you get dialed in. You don't grow unless you get a little bit crushed.
All right, Jincy Roese, Jincy Dunn. It's weird calling you Jincy Roese now. Welcome home.
Thank you.
What is it like? So, you know, you're now in the PWHL, Professional Women's Hockey League. What's it like coming back to your hometown? Is this going to be your first time playing in St. Louis as a pro?
It's not my first time playing as a pro. We had a USA game here a few years ago.
Okay.
But this is really, this is the first time with the professional league getting to come here. And so, it's awesome. I love being home. I've had so much love and support. Just so many people texting me today that they're excited. People I haven't heard from in years that are coming out to the game. So I'm pumped. Like so many little girls, the opportunity for them to get to watch this. You never know what dream it's going to spark for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Is it bringing back, so I'm sure there's been like a lot of, media responsibility for you, maybe some like meet and greets. Have you met with any fans since you've been in town?
I haven't done any of the meet and greets. I've done a lot of like the TV interviews, kind of the social media interviews type thing.
Yeah. It's got to be kind of nostalgic coming back, remembering yourself in those shoes. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool now because when you were growing up playing, the PWHL didn't exist. So you didn't have that to even look forward to. How cool has it been to be a part of, the inaugural league and kind of the formation of that?
It's been, I feel like I'm so lucky because it's amazing when you have a dream and you push for it and you go for it. But I didn't have this dream and I was like, I'm not playing in the NHL, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But I just feel fortunate enough that I feel like it's just been a blessing that's continued to unfold. Like it's happened so fast. So it's like before I even was able to dream about a league, it was like, oh, here, you get the chance to do this. And now you get the chance to do this. And when you kind of think about the grand scheme of what you're doing, it's like, wow, I actually got to play in the first professional women's league. Yeah. That's so cool. Like I didn't even dream that up for myself. So I just feel like that, like what a blessing that I can look back and say that I got that kind of like handed to me.
Yeah.
So.
Because until this opportunity came to be, you obviously had a ton of success in hockey. And kind of so I think that would be a good place to start to like for people to understand the timeline of what it was like. Because even it was crazy because you and I played together when we were 14 on the AAA Blues here in town. And I was like going back, I was like looking through your Wikipedia page, and I didn't even understand some of the achievements that you were already earning around that season and then throughout high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, because I'm looking back at this timeline, and it was like 2013, you were the youngest player on the U18 World Championship team. And you were on that team in 2014. And you got best defenseman both years, right? That award. Yeah. And it was just, it like really struck me thinking back at like 2013. So we would have been sophomores in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like so distracted at that time. What was it like being the youngest in these programs, and kind of what did you learn from those experiences?
Oh, I think I learned to grow up real quick. I think actually playing with the boys gave me kind of like a leg up, because when you're the youngest person in the room and you shouldn't be making teams, that automatically kind of puts eyes on you. And I think when you're a girl on a boys team, that automatically puts eyes on you. And so I think I learned how to kind of navigate, recognizing that me being there was polarizing and how I could kind of navigate that space. So I think that actually gave me a leg up in those situations at times.
Yeah, just getting used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of, it was funny. As I was thinking about the principles of these high achieving people, and I wrote down this quote that I constantly hear, where if you want to be successful, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you've clearly dealt with some discomfort throughout your career.
Yep.
What was the most challenging season, from youth hockey on?
Oof. I think each season has come with its own set of challenges.
Yeah.
I think probably the hardest one for me, because I was so young and so impressionable, was 16. I was in the trials for Sochi Olympics, and it just was not a positive environment for me. I was the youngest. A lot of people said I had no business being there, and honestly, whether or not that's true, like I could feel that. It was quite clear. I think on top of that, I didn't have the resources to kind of navigate challenges at the time. I was trying to figure things out on my own. My family was back in St. Louis. I was in Boston by myself at 16 years old, just got my license, significantly younger than girls on the team. You have a hardcore coach who's not going to treat you like 16. She's going to treat you like an adult, but I don't think you're ready to make that jump at the time. And I think that was kind of, everyone was so excited, like you could be the youngest player, to play in the Olympics. And that's like, I'm a little bit of a people pleaser sometimes. So I think like, oh, wow, I have to do this for all of us. And I got cut. And I think that was the first significant failure for me, where it's like where I've failed. And I think at some point everyone has to do that to fail. And you kind of learn about yourself. But I think for years after, I really let that shut me down in a lot of ways. And so I think that was a very, very hard season, because I just had to figure out who I was, which was so much bigger than hockey. Like hockey is just a sport. It's great. It has offered so many opportunities and opened so many doors, but it is just a sport. It's not who I am as a person. And to learn that at 16 years old is quite challenging. So that one was definitely tough, because I allowed that to take my value and my confidence from me, that experience. And I think once you lose your confidence, you have to fight like hell to get it back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you respond to that?
Yeah. I think I would say for years I actually shut down. And again, like I'm at a place now where I give myself a ton of grace for it, because I look at how hard it was, and there was some mean girl energy there that you're dealing with. Like I had never dealt with that before, and turned around, I came back, and I didn't want to play anymore, but I actually ended up playing with U16, and thank God my brother was on the team. I think that was my saving grace at the time, because that group was a little bit different from our 97 group.
Yeah.
But I definitely think I let that shut me down. But I am so grateful for the years that it took me to struggle to find that, because I think if you can stick with it, like the struggle is really, really good for you.
Yeah.
So.
They were a little crazier bunch.
They were a lot crazy.
I've heard they were a crazy
I'm like,
crowd.
is there a generational change between 1997 and 1998? Because that was a different group. It was great. It was good for me. But I think coming from the situation I was coming from, not wanting to play.
Yeah.
And then having that group, and then it was quite crazy.
Yeah.
Times. It was all bus trips that, like, it became, like, instead of traveling with your parents, you were traveling on the bus. And I just felt so awkward, like, I had to go to the bathroom. Like, I couldn't go to the bathroom on the bus. But then I was like, oh, we're stopping because somebody has to go to the bathroom. And it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's just, like, such a little thing. But I think, again, coming from where I felt like I failed. And, you know, when you feel like that, you feel like you can't do anything right, you know. So it was a long year.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
And so you were playing U16 with the boys. Were you playing women's hockey at that time?
No, I wasn't playing with the girls at all. And I think it is a trade-off, like playing with the guys. You do miss out on camaraderie. Like, I'm not going to behave with you in a locker room like I would with a group of girls. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people ask me, should my daughter play with the boys? I'm like, if that's really their only opportunity, yeah, but make sure they're getting locker room time with girls. Like, it's just, that's what makes it so much fun. Yeah. You know, like, you probably don't even remember wins and losses looking back, but I bet you can remember how much you laughed in the locker room with the guys.
Yeah.
So...
You know that about me.
Yeah.
The game was kind of a sideshow for me compared to just hanging out and having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting to look back at because I was thinking about it, and at the time, like, because U16s was a hard year for me as well, and that's actually when I stopped playing hockey after that. And so I admire so much when I look back at other people who face that adversity at like a young age and then push through it. Because it's hard to do.
Yeah.
When you're like, and you're a teenager, so like, it's amazing to me how some kids kept their head in the game throughout all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you say you shut down, but you still played at that U16 level and continued to push forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I didn't realize I was I think when you have enough practice under your belt, you have like, the muscle memory for things. So I was able to go out there and do what I needed to do, but I could tell like my mind was just off somewhere else. My heart wasn't in it. Like it didn't matter if I had a good game. I was upset with myself. I was hard on myself. And so finally it got to a point, actually, like I got a concussion a few years later that put me out for a year and a half. And I think that was honestly just like such a good break for me. Yeah. Because I'm like, there is another world outside of hockey. Like before this, leading up to the Olympics, I mean, I was on the ice probably 2 hours before school, 2 hours after school, like and then we had practice. So I was like, it was hockey, because I'm like, there's this goal. I have to put everything I have into it. And I would never change that. I would never take that back. But I think after kind of getting injured and having that time off, now I've like got perspective on things. So I think that was the big game changer for me in that. And then again, I think the other big kind of like saving grace for me was actually COVID, because I got to a point again, 4 years later, like USA, I still haven't made the team again. It's getting quite frustrating. I'm not sure if I want to pursue this, and was going to be done after Ohio State, and then COVID happened, and it was just me and my siblings on the ice together, and I realized how much I actually loved it. Yeah. And then that was kind of like the breath of fresh air. I needed to keep going. So I feel like each season has come with its challenges, but I feel like I always get the breath of fresh air. I always get to come up for breath. Like it's always come right on time where I'm like, okay, now I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's funny you say that. I had Matt Vierling on here who plays baseball for Detroit Tigers, and he and I were talking about COVID as well. Like I loved COVID and he loved it.
it.
He was like coming off of a slump going into COVID, and he goes, that was my first chance to take a step back from the game. And he's like, I think it kind of like saved his career because he was able to he was like, I was able to go out more and just kind of have fun and not be so in my head about everything.
Yeah. And I actually got some great advice not that long ago. It's like, if you're starting to get really frustrated with something, if you're starting to get really angry or upset or disappointed, like you probably need to reset in some area of your life.
Yeah.
So that's been very good for me to like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. where do I need to go reset my perspective on things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That was some recent advice that you
That
got?
was I think I knew that before, but someone finally put it into words for me not that long ago, and I was like, that's really good.
Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah.
So.
I've started to become aware of that a little bit myself too.
Yeah.
There's just like a cyclical nature to life.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta know that like in those downtimes, like just survive.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll catch some tailwinds and
Yes.
it'll feel like your luck's finally coming your way.
Yes, exactly.
So what year was it that you had that concussion?
Oh, that was right before I went to Ohio State, so that would have been in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, like a month before I went. I had dealt with some concussions, so I remember this was actually when I came back from getting cut from Sochi, playing with the U16s. We made nationals, and I took a big hit in one of the playoff games.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I'm not right. Like I didn't feel good, but I didn't really know anything, so I kind of kept playing. Took another big hit, and then just was not feeling good after the season. Go into the next season, I took like 3 hits in a row. I don't think I'd ever recovered from that nationals hit, so it just kept. So finally, it was just an accident. We were all getting out of the car, and my brother just closed the door on accident, and my head was right there.
Oh man.
And that was just like, I mean, I couldn't do anything after that. So that was 2015. It was like a month before I was supposed to go to Ohio State, and they thought maybe I'd be back by, mid-season, but then I just ended up, by the time I started to feel a lot better, the season was pretty much over, so then just took the medical red shirt and waited till the following season to get back.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff were you doing during that downtime to help you kind of realign?
Yeah, I was working with a doctor actually out of Pittsburgh, and so he's got a really interesting kind of like progressive theory on concussion, and I know a lot of like NHL football guys work with him as well. NHL and football, not.
Yeah.
I made myself sound silly there. But he does, there's like 6 different types of concussions, like it's in your neck or your vestibular or your ocular, or like your mood or things like that. So he's kind of able to diagnose like which one you're struggling with and then what therapies to offset that. So it's actually, you treats it like any other muscle. Like if you hurt your shoulder, you're going to rehab it. So we were doing a lot of like tracking, vestibular, ocular exercises. We were working out, trying to get movement. So really just a lot of that. And it's like you start really, really small because like I was so sensitive to light. Any sort of light would have set me off for the day. So it's like you expose yourself to symptoms and then you have to learn to recover. And eventually our bodies are capable of incredible things. So like your body eventually learns that resilience, and your body wants to heal itself any chance it gets. So
Yeah.
it was good. It was what I needed.
So did he determined it was an ocular?
It was mostly ocular for me, like right because I hit back here, and
Yeah.
even these muscles, like they were just so weak. So physically strengthening those muscles,
Yeah.
and then training your eyes, and then getting your vestibular system back in line with it.
Wow, I didn't
Yeah.
know all that about concussion.
Yeah.
And I think I had one when I was, I don't know. Maybe we all had one. Mine was very minor, and I don't know if my parents. I don't know if we even knew if it was really one. I just threw up. So we
I
were
feel like I remember you taking some big hits
yeah,
back in the day.
I definitely did. But and I'm not all there these days. But
Neither am I. I mean, I just said the hockey or the NHL football. That's what I said just now.
Yeah. We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Life's a journey. And that, so you were working on like the concussion protocol, rehab, all that. What about outside of hockey? Were you able to, do any more self-discovery beyond hockey?
Yeah, so I was a freshman in college, so had a little bit of fun there where I could without making myself feel sick. I understood I was still having to rehab. I actually started dating, which was a big one for me because I was like, beforehand, I was like, I don't have time, not interested. Yeah. And then, so that was like kind of a game changer for me. Opens up a whole different world.
Yeah.
What else did I do? I just I didn't have that. I slept in, which was huge for me. I didn't pressure myself to get up at 5 a.m. Traveled to see family a lot, which was honestly, the timing was great too. My parents were getting divorced at the time, so I was able to be home a lot more and be with my siblings. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing for me. So so it was great. Got to travel a lot. because I had no responsibilities with the team. So, yeah, it was different. It was the first time I wasn't a part of a team, and you kind of have to navigate the space by yourself, and you don't have the built-in friends from a team, so you kind of have to go explore other clubs and options and find other things you like to do.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It is so weird, too, because especially being as high intense of an athlete that you were,
Mm-hmm.
There's so much identity attached to that. So I'm sure that transition, I'm sure it was kind of nice,
Yeah.
too, though.
Yeah. And I read this book. It was called Dream Big by Bob Goff, and it talked about that we all have gifts. We all have things that make us come alive in life. And it could be one thing, but there's usually multiple things.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of like reflective questions in there that help you figure out, what do you like? What makes you come alive? What do you want your life to be about? And hockey's great. Like it's a step stool, but it's not everything. And I think that year really helped me kind of see that.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did Isaac go to Ohio State?
He did not. He went to Miami of Ohio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and everyone asked me, is he a hockey guy? He's absolutely not a hockey guy. He is a total nerd. Like, he is very, very smart. So I'm careful what arguments I step into with him, because I know he's going to outwit me in them.
Yeah, right. What is he? He's in New York. Right?
Yeah, he's in New York City. He's an investment banker with JP Morgan.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's got long, long hours. But
Yeah.
he's good at it. He loves it. New York's been a great experience for us. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So during the season, are you in New York quite a bit as well?
No, during the season, I'm mostly in Ottawa.
Okay.
And so there's a team in New York, so I'll get to see him when we go there. And then Boston's not too far. He can train up to Boston. And,
Yeah.
some weekends he'll come see me. Our league has quite a few breaks in it. We have like 2 international breaks and then a world championship break. So I usually get that time off to see him.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because investment banking, that's super demanding. Just like being a hockey player, I feel like it takes just as much time.
It takes way more time.
Yeah.
Like he works, I think he's anywhere from like 80 to 100 hours a week.
Really?
Yeah, which one day I was like, I'm just going to stay up with him and like be on his clock. And I was like, nope.
Yeah, that's
This is
funny.
ridiculous.
That is funny. And how much time? So you're getting pretty close to playoffs now, aren't you? How are you guys looking?
We're all right now.
Looking pretty good.
Yeah, we're looking pretty good. We're not in a playoff spot currently.
Yeah.
We kind of fell apart last game, which, we need every game we can get these days.
Yeah.
I think we have a great team. It's just a matter of building that into 60 minutes of hockey.
Yeah.
So we have a great group, though. Like, we have fun. But yeah, the last game is like primed in my brain right now, so I'm like, oh, wasn't that great? But when we play, we're a very hard team to play against.
Yeah. You're playing Boston tomorrow.
Yeah, Boston tomorrow.
That'll be a fun game.
Yeah, Boston. I don't actually think we've beat Boston yet, so that'll be
Nice.
a big task for us.
Yeah. You got home field advantage now.
Yeah,
well, I guess
yeah.
Are there any other St. Louis girls on the team?
No, I think I'm the only St. Louis girl in the league.
Really?
Yeah, the only other 2 that I can think of right now are, they're all in college still.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And a lot of talent in college that will hopefully be playing in the PWHL.
Oh yeah, the game has changed so much. There's so much skill right now in the women's game. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And how has it been? Because you've kind of been like a pioneer in women's hockey in St. Louis. I know you're running that camp here.
Yeah.
Are you running that in St. Louis?
Yeah, I run it down at Maryville in Chesterfield.
Nice.
And that's just kind of, I feel like the whole reason I did it was I felt like I've had so many people pour into me, and I think it's just a way to be a good steward and kind of invest in the next generation. So it's really like why I wanted to do it. And I think the big thing too is, one of the key pieces we talk about in camp is identity, and teaching these girls that hockey's great. We're here to compete. We're here to get better, do the best at what we can with right in front of us. But at the end of the day, like, are we being good people? What's our identity? What are our values? Because I want those girls to be able to walk out of that and walk into life having a sense of security at who they are and how to treat people.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you have those conversations and talk about that while you're coaching?
Yeah, we do.
Are you hosting the camp this summer?
Yep, it'll be in June July. It's July. It's right before my sister's wedding.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's the week of. It's like the week leading up, and I was like, can I schedule my camp here? Because everyone will be in town, and that's all my help.
Yeah.
So
your siblings do it with you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
This is
so
a family
fun.
event.
That's awesome.
Yes. And they're like, are you paying me for this? And I'm like, what? But
Yeah.
Of course I am.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So what does the day look like in those camps? So how many days is it? And then what does each day look like?
It's like typically like 4 days,
Okay.
4 days a week, and then 2 hours of ice, whether that gets broken up. Usually I've found that if you're doing like an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, the putting on and off of equipment is insane for some of these girls. And it's just hard on the coaches when they're tying skates so many times. So we usually do 2 hours in the morning for group one, and then we'll do like a snack session, and then we'll do like a lecture.
Yeah.
So that might be like a value talk, that might be like a nutrition talk, that might be like how to take care of your body. And then they usually have some sort of like off ice incorporated into that after.
Yeah.
And then exhaust them before we send them back to the parents. And
Yeah.
then while they're going, group two kind of does the reverse. So they come in, they start with their activation, their warm up. They might have like a lecture and snack, and then they'll get on the ice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was my least favorite part about hockey camp growing up, was taking the equipment off and then putting it back on.
And it's soaking wet.
It's soaking wet, and it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
That was the worst part about weekends, too.
Yeah.
It was like 7 games, and your
Oh my gosh.
equipment's wet and cold.
I can't even believe we played that many games in a weekend before. Like now you play back-to-back games, and you're like, where's the doctor?
Yeah, right. I know, and with the 97s, I feel like we were constantly making it to like the semis or the finals. So it was like the amount of games.
Yeah, I feel like that we always had the 7 a.m. semifinal, which I think was just our team's downfall.
It was, that really was. That was tough. That's cool that so will this be the 3rd year of the camp?
This is the 4th year.
Oh, 4th year?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what's the age cutoff for that?
17's the oldest, and so actually when the girls age out, I let them come back and be like assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a few girls doing that this year.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we covered your timeline all the way up to the concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had your redshirt freshman year at Ohio State.
Yep.
What was it like moving into, I guess it wasn't as crazy because you'd already been playing Team USA.
Yeah.
But what was it like moving into that college environment as a player?
I had my older sister with me there the first year.
Yeah.
So that was great. She's always just been just a great safe place for me. So that was something I'll never trade. But I also was, I remember coming back, I think people still had super high expectations for me. And so not feeding into those, but I was still very much learning how to not feed into those expectations and take on that pressure for myself. Because I think when you start taking on pressure from other people, you kind of like lose focus of things. So I would say the first year was tough just navigating. I haven't played in a year and a half. So you kind of have to, it's a whole new game, different from what I'm used to playing. Because, I came from the boys and then college girls. And we really didn't have depth on our team. Like we were a losing team.
Okay.
So it was like navigating all three of those things. And I feel like that was one of those, just get through the season. And towards the end, repetition towards the end, I started feeling more and more like myself again.
Yeah.
And then that set me up for a much, much better sophomore season. So.
Was your sophomore year when you were named captain of the team?
Yeah, so it was actually my first year back. This is one of those things I was like quite polarizing, where my redshirt freshman year I was actually named an assistant captain.
Oh, wow.
And this was not a popular decision, and I didn't love it either.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a freshman, you kind of have to earn your stripes. Yes, I'd had some national team accolades and recognition, but I don't think that I could understand why seniors did not like me from that moment on.
Yeah.
When it was, so that was one of those situations where you realize you're the polarizing figure and you never intended to be that, and it was outside of your control. And then sophomore year was kind of the same story. I was an assistant captain again.
Yeah.
And then senior year, I was captain as well, like that. And I know my junior year was not popular that I was a captain either.
They wanted to be a senior.
Yeah. And some other girls kind of were like, well, why weren't we the captain? Why not us? And so I think that's always hard. I can understand people's reactions to that, but I also would have liked, I didn't vote for myself. I didn't vote at all. I didn't choose this. I didn't want this.
Right.
So that was tricky at times.
Yeah, that is hard. And it's ultimately a coach's decision.
Yeah.
But and that's something that I've come to understand because I coach JV at SLU High.
Yeah.
And just it's so interesting moving to the coaching side of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And just you learn so much that you weren't aware of when you were a player.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is that seniority kind of rules thing. And we combated that a little bit and honored the votes.
Yeah.
And you really have to do what's right for the team. And
Yeah.
there are things that seniority accounts for so much, but there are leaders and a lot of players, even if they're quiet, they want you to be the leader.
Yeah.
You know, even though they're not going to speak up. And,
Yeah.
But they're just like, just quietly like, yes.
Yeah.
She got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really interesting, the amount of times that you've had to deal with kind of that polarization. Do you have any, like, rituals or practices kind of that help you, like, calm you down or maintain that?
Yeah, so I would say I lean a lot towards some of the spiritual disciplines. I feel like that's something at an early age I kind of tried to lean into. So every morning, like, I try to have quiet time and just prayer time for me, or just like a reflection time, or I'm always listening to podcasts, things that I can learn. I'd love to learn. I'll learn from anybody. I would say that's a big one for me. Some other rituals. I don't do a ton of meditations, but I do have 2 that I use consistently.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names, but one is imagery, and then the second part to that is all like affirmations.
Yeah.
I think my downfall and my kryptonite has been kind of like self-talk, and so that's one that kind of reverses that. So yeah, I would say that, and then things that I think therapy is great for everybody. Like, I think that before you start looking outward, you have to hold a mirror up to yourself and recognize the patterns that you talked about. You know, like, what are the things that are helping me? What are the things that keep popping up? And what are the things that are a detriment to me? So yeah, I would say those are my big ones. So
Yeah.
just starting the morning off and ending in silence, I would say, are the big ones.
Yeah.
So.
And those have been very impactful on myself as well. Kind of those meditative practices. What is the imagery meditation that you're referring? Is that like a visualization?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's visualization. So it like has you come, it's telling you to like get to a place that's been safe for you.
Yeah.
Some place where you can just relax and just take in everything that you're noticing, seeing, feeling. And then it kind of moves, it's more like performance based. So then it helps you move into like, imagine yourself like, performing at your freest self. Like, you're in this space, this is how you're feeling. Now take this into your workspace. And how are you incorporating that into your work? So those have been the 2 that I use. And if I get tired of them, I'll kind of give them a break, and then I'll lean back into them.
That's nice. I do the same thing. Do you use like an app or anything?
It's on Google Books.
Okay.
So, and then sometimes too, if I'm like, I need to get a little more, the Headspace app I find is great. I use that quite a bit.
I've got one called Insight Timer.
Oh yeah, I have that one on my phone too. Yeah.
It's nice. It is nice because you can kind of look up what you want to do for the day. I'll even sometimes if I put on like a 25-minute, I will like doze off in the middle of it, and I kind of wake up more refreshed. Whereas if I just take like a 25-minute like real nap, I wake up a little more in a funk. Kind of. So it's.
Have you seen the binaural beats? Have you heard of those?
Yes.
Like the frequencies. I have those on quite a bit.
Yes, I do that. I was just doing that earlier today, like in the sauna, kind of, because I got not very much sleep. So I was like, I'll just throw this on and kind of doze off in the sauna.
Yes.
And it does kind of calm you. Courtney always makes fun of me because she'll come home. She'll like come home from work, and I like believe in like a 25-minute like reset. Yep. So I'll be like in our room, and she'll come home, and like the beats are playing for my. She's like, "What are you doing?" Because it is, and meditation's one of those funny things that's like awkward to do in front of other people. Like she was doing yoga the other day in our apartment, and like she couldn't take it seriously because you hear it almost sounds cheesy if you're not in it.
Yep.
When it's like somebody doing a guided meditation.
Yes.
But it's so beneficial.
Yes.
But it's like you're almost a little embarrassed if like your friend is watching you listen to this.
Yeah, even like my husband, I remember, so I have like a whole little like side therapy thing in our room. So it's got like a red light, a vibrational plate, like kind of everything you need. And I'll do like the frequencies or like a meditation as I go through, just doing like some stretching and stuff. And then he'll come home and he'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "This is the day you chose to come home early. Like, you're ruining this for me." So that
is so funny.
I'm trying to think of other rituals. I would say one thing that I really try to lean to is doing things that make me uncomfortable, like forcing that. So like I hate cold water. So getting into an ice bath, like doing hot cold therapy, or like I'm a big shopper, so like finding time of like, okay, I'm not shopping this week, or I like coffee, okay, I'm not drinking coffee this week. Like finding things to just saying no to them. I think that's like getting uncomfortable, like not giving myself the things that I want. And I think there's times to enjoy it, but then there's times to like put a break on it and like get your mind right too, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Like you did 75 hard, right?
Yeah. I just finished my 5th round of it.
That's insane.
It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And I did learn all those things. And once you kind of learn, because this is like, it's kind of why I'm having this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I discovered this stuff 5 years ago. But that's what's so impressive to me about people like you is that you kind of discovered that at least the long-term mindset, the longer time horizons when you were so much younger. Like when I was 16, I was instant gratification and there was no delayed gratification. And no accountability on my end either. But it's once you discover it and then you discover these things about human nature, and when you can remove comfort, choose discomfort, and come out of that feeling good about it, you start having positive relationships with uncomfortable situations because you associate it with growth.
Yeah, it's resilient. Like you've basically just built up your resilience.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why I always got named captain when I never had wanted to be, is I think because from an early age I really had to learn, like I was forced into that.
Yeah.
You have to grow up. I would never trade those struggles because I do feel like I feel like I did learn how to be resilient and learn to be uncomfortable. So I would never trade those things at all. But I think did set my maturity level a little bit higher than my peers at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Were you aware of that? Was it like a parent or was somebody there who was telling you? Or was that just something you intuitively got, was like, this is good for my growth?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Again, like I think when I'm always listening to podcasts, I'm always trying to like figure things out. And I think that I actually got the example of a seed. So like when a seed is in baby form, like when you put it into the ground, you almost have to crush it. So if you didn't know any better, like if you weren't a farmer, if you didn't know the process, it would look like you're actually going to crush and destroy the seed. But actually like breaking up that seed is what allows it to go into the ground and then eventually like become a harvest of something. Yeah. So that was kind of the example and the imagery that I was given. And I was like, okay, I'm just being broken right now. I'm going to be underground for a little bit. It's going to be hard, but eventually like I'll break through the surface and something will come of this.
Yeah.
So I think that I always keep that image into my mind when I find things are being hard, is like, okay, this is gonna grow something down the road. Now I get to dictate, my attitude dictates, is it gonna grow something good or something bad? Like something's gonna grow, but what's it gonna be? And you get to make that choice. So yeah, that helped me out. I got that advice at a really early age, and that's kind of something I always kind of kept locked in my mind.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's impressive to keep in your mind when you learn that at a young age. Mm-hmm. I've heard that, it's funny you use that seed analogy. I heard recently it was something like, sometimes in life you think you're getting buried, but you're really getting planted.
Yes.
Kind of along the same line.
I've heard that. I love that. That's like one of my there's a whole like podcast I listened to that was called Planted, Not Buried. And it's
Really?
like, yeah, you're not buried underground. You're just planted. Like, give it some time. You know, it takes a little bit for the light to get in there and to cause something to grow. But, you know, you stay in there, something will grow.
Yeah. And just that mindset shift changes everything.
Yeah.
It's like it's just that hope element.
Yeah.
The same situation could be going on for 10 other people, but if you have that hope element, the way you perceive it is so different, so the way you respond to it is different.
Yeah.
Because before I learned that, it was like I just wanted to point the finger at whose fault it was, why is this happening to me? It's like this is a blessing if you look at it the right way. It's an opportunity for growth.
Yes.
But and then you see when I look back, it's like I see the results of that mindset of the lack of accountability. Then you're seeking instant gratification and comfort at every turn, and it's just like a slippery slope. But you can nip it in the bud with just that right
perspective.
Mindset. Yeah. So you've mentioned that you listen to podcasts a lot. Who are some of your favorite podcasters?
Oof. Honestly, it's so random.
Yeah.
Like, I just, whatever. I'll see someone post something on YouTube or post something on Instagram, and I'll just, like, go listen to it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say there's, like, one that I consistently listen to. I'm all over. I love Bob Goff, School of Greatness.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Mel Robbins lately. Yeah, I feel like those are... honestly, it's just whatever, just shuffles.
Yeah.
And then, like, I feel like within the first 10 minutes, you can kind of
decide.
Is this like, do I need to hear this right now, or is this not a good one? So
I do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm a big audio booker, too. I love books. So,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been, one of the things with 75 Hard was read 10 pages a day, which is a great skill, too.
Yeah.
Because I never read before.
I'm a huge reader. I mean, I think I read like over 100 books last year. I keep a list.
Really?
So, yeah.
Do you physically read them, or are you mostly audiobook?
I always have it kind of depends. I always have like 2 I'm like physically reading.
Yeah.
And maybe like 2 I'm audiobooking.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I just kind of, they're all different. Like one might be, a fantasy fiction. One might be a biography. One might be regular fiction. One might be, you know what I mean? They're all just different.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you read any like have you ever read any personal development books or anything?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm trying to think of ones off the top of my head.
You mentioned the one.
Dream Big by Bob Goff. I love that one. I'm reading one on money and finances right now. So when you marry an investment banker.
Is it Psychology of Money or what?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
Great
and then
book.
I read a different one as well. He made me read Finance for Dummies and start. I'm like, so if anyone's listening to this, you're going to marry an investment banker, just know they make you get your stuff together.
That's actually nice, though.
It is nice.
Because then you get to read the book, and then when he's talking and saying stuff, you now understand it.
Yeah. And I will say, this is where we do, I'm all about like long-term gain, but sometimes when I'm like comes to find, like my husband wants to put everything into retirement, everything, and I'm also like, okay, I get it, but if we die tomorrow, we have nothing right now.
Yeah.
So that's where we have our little debacles here and there.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So. It is tough to find that balance.
Yeah.
Between saving and living in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Courtney's pretty good at like pushing me a little bit because I have a problem with like overthinking too, and it's not like I'm putting everything into retirement, but I'm just like, there could be more return here, but it's like, okay, but you could also just like, the return's gonna come over time. Like you don't need to put everything away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good balance, and that is like the reason I said it's good is because Courtney, she's a teacher. So she teaches biology.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And, but like I'm in real estate. And so I'll be like on the phone or explaining a situation, and I'm using all these terms that it's like, why would she, and she always makes fun of me because I'll use like abbreviations of words or acronyms. And she's like, and now she knows a lot of them, but reading a book would actually probably be kind of a good
Yeah.
solution to that.
He would try to come home and talk about work, and I'm like, okay, time out, go
Yeah,
back and just break it down like I'm in 5th grade.
Yeah. And then it's nice because then you can be there for him when he's
Yeah.
like venting and you understand the
Yeah.
situation a little bit more. Because that's a stressful job.
Do you know what a debt capital market is? I'm still trying to learn.
A debt capital market?
Yeah, he like explains all of it to me, and I'm like,
Yeah,
No,
you know,
sir.
I've got some understanding of it, but definitely not as in depth as he would. Drew Krogan was in investment banking.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I've learned a lot from him
Okay.
on that, and then I've got a couple other buddies who do it. So you just pick up little bits.
Where's he with? What bank?
So now he's in private equity.
Okay.
With a company called Compass, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Nice.
he was with. He was doing investment banking out in California.
Okay.
They were doing a lot in like the fitness space.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah. And so yeah, he's back in St. Louis, which is nice. It's been fun to have him back.
Cool. Yeah. Do you see a lot of the guys that we used to play with that are still in town?
Not many.
You know who I saw in New York? Jake Wilson.
Yeah.
He's living there now.
Yeah.
We had a double date not that long ago.
Really?
Over the summer, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I saw him at Luke Cunning's wedding, and then I see his brother a lot.
Yeah.
Zach.
Okay.
And then like Luke Radetick's here, so
Yep.
I see Luke all the time. Drew's here. Parker Mitchum came on the podcast.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is a decent amount, and then there's people who kind of come back bit by bit.
Nice.
Yeah. It's nice. I'm just holding down the fort for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so okay. We've gotten a lot of stuff, and it is so cool to know that you practice all these, or just you're so self-aware of like the mindset and all that. You're not like aimlessly going through it and just happen to get it, which it's enlightening, because I think a lot of people think somebody like you've been amazing at hockey since you were little, and they're just like, okay, she just is good at hockey, so naturally she's going to be this incredible professional athlete. But it takes so much more than that, and it's cool to hear about, you know, the struggles that you went through at 16 and kind of bouncing back from that. So then we went all the way through, you know, kind of touching on your Ohio State experience. Now we're all the way up to the PWHL. What was it like in the gap between Ohio State and actually playing in the league? Did you know that this league was being formed?
So kind of. So I was in my 5th year at Ohio State. We were heading to the NCAA championships, and then COVID happened. So it was completely canceled.
Yeah.
And we were the only class that didn't get our year back.
Tough.
So that was pretty disappointing, to say the least. But honestly, after, you know, COVID was, again, just awesome for me and my family. And then I could not have imagined going back into a college environment the way things were so strict. And just everyone was miserable. It just wasn't, you were not getting the college experience that you should have been getting. But then it wasn't the PWHL at the time, it was the PWHPA. So it was basically the Players Association that came together. There was 4 teams, and the whole purpose was to have kind of like these takeover tour games to kind of get investment in the league. And it was honestly kind of a mess at times. Like I don't mean this any disrespect. Like, I think the people that were behind the scenes were doing so much, working so hard to get us out there, to get people to invest into our game. But I think that they were just limited in numbers and what could be offered. So it was kind of a struggle. You know, we were getting paid to travel and show up, but we really weren't making any money off of it at all. There was no insurance attached to it. So unless you were a national team member, you definitely had to have a job outside of that and find ways to provide for yourself. And it was getting tough. Like, I was getting to the point of like, this isn't sustainable. You can't really make a career off of this. And I mean, I was very fortunate. I was still doing stuff with the national team, so I was making money there. And the Olympics were right around the corner as well. But I knew, so went to the Olympics. And then after that, I was kind of like, what what are we going to do? But it turns out our final against Canada had like the highest viewership that they'd had in years, like even more so than an NHL game. And so that kind of like sparked investors of like, oh, there actually is a market here. And from there, Billie Jean King and Mark Walter Group came and, you know, basically said, okay, we're going to get this thing going for you guys. And that all happened probably within the span of like January to October. So I had gotten married in that time frame. And then my husband got the job opportunity in New York City, was super excited for it. I'm like, you have to take it. You've been wanting to do this your whole life. And then we moved there, and then turn around a few months later, I got drafted to Ottawa.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't actually believe the league was going to happen until we were in market, because there had been other leagues and things had just continued to fall through, but finally looked like this was going to happen. And I think the coolest experience was going out for the first game. It was sold out like before in warm-ups, like everyone was there. Just the excitement to have us there was so cool, and to know that I got to be a small part of that was really special.
That is cool.
And it's been good since. Like obviously it's a new league, it's year 2, so there's a lot of issues. But at the end of the day, like perspective, this is something we're building this for someone like my sister to come in and have the career of a lifetime, you know?
Yeah.
And we get insurance, which is great.
That is nice. That's a big step up.
Yeah.
Was that first game in Ottawa?
Our first game was in Montreal, I believe, which like great crowd in Montreal. It was a sold out crowd. It was awesome. And then, you know, we pretty much sold out every game last year in Ottawa as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. Yeah, so when you got drafted, so you were drafted 17th overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you, by the time, I know you weren't physically at the draft, were you getting married right then?
No, I had gotten married. It was my husband's birthday. Like,
okay.
It wasn't his birthday, but it was his birthday gift. Like his favorite band was in town.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had already bought the tickets, and I knew he was really looking forward to it. And when I told him, he would have been totally fine if I had gone to the draft. But I was like, at the end of the day, like, he's more important than anything. So we're going to this concert, and it was great. It was fine. I don't regret not going to the draft at all.
That's really sweet. And you still got drafted.
Yeah, exactly.
But that must have been at that point. By the time the draft was coming around, that must have been when it really set in. Like, okay, this is real. The league is happening.
Yeah.
What did it look like from draft day to game 1? You know, just getting acclimated with the league.
Yeah. So the draft happened, and I think that was in October, and I think we had like a month to get into market.
Okay.
We weren't starting until January, but I think we had to be there like right around Thanksgiving time, and then, you know, get settled 6 weeks. All the equipment was still coming in. You know, they're still putting their locker room touches up, kind of figuring everyone was navigating this space. This was new for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't think all of our coaches came from the college level. So yeah, and then basically just practicing, getting to know people, kind of getting logistics, getting payment all set up, payroll, things like that, getting your, you know, Players Association members, and that was kind of like the gist of it all.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then, what was it like? Because first year you were just PWHL Ottawa.
Yep.
Now you're officially the Ottawa Charge.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't have names last year.
Yeah. Were you part of that name selection process?
Oh, goodness, no.
Okay.
No. That's right above my pay grade. But I think we were supposed to have names the first year, and they kind of I feel like they soft launch names.
Yeah, yeah.
And they just did not get good press on them.
Okay.
So then they just kept it like what PWHL and whatever your market was.
Yeah.
But then this year they went with names.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
yeah, we thought we were going to be the Ottawa Alert. So the Charge, we were like, the Charge. Where'd that come from? But it's good. It's been great.
That is cool. It's cool to see a team come. That's such a unique experience for a professional athlete.
Yeah.
To get to actually see, because you probably learn a lot more about the business side of the league compared to somebody who comes into just a league that's been around for 60 years.
Yeah, exactly. And just there's little things, you know, our CBAs are new. So it's finding what's working in them and what potentially might need to be changed in the future.
What's that?
The CBAs are basically our rights as players.
Okay, yeah. Are you on the Players Association?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I am. So that's actually been that's been really fun to kind of learn the business and the legal side of things.
Yeah.
You know, like we work in tandem with the league, and so like, hey, this is a problem with the players, and you know, the league shows their perspective, and I think it's cool to kind of see both sides of it.
Yeah.
You know, because you've got a league that's trying to, you know, build a business essentially, and
Yeah.
then players that are like, hold up, we're not building it at this expense, you know?
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
So obviously you're probably not thinking about this yet because you're in the thick of it. You're playing hockey.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll work in hockey after being a player?
I don't know. I think right when I'm done, I would want to step away and just have a family and chill for a few years, but I would never be opposed to coming back in the game. But I think as opposed to coaching and getting into coaching, I would want, like with a team, I'd probably want to do like more skill.
Yeah.
Individual development work. I really like growing up. I just loved doing that as a kid. So
Yeah.
I think that's like probably where I gear more towards more. But
It's like your camp.
yeah. Yeah.
You could, I mean, there's hockey schools popping up too.
Oh, I'm not running a school. No. I have seen, like, I helped coach last year when I was in New York, and just dealing with, like, parents, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
It's a lot.
This is the Hunger Games.
Yeah. The Chathams are doing that here in St. Louis.
Yeah. You know what? They're amazing.
Are they?
Yes. I remember I came back, like, 2.5 years ago, and I was like, oh, I heard the Chatham brothers are running all the girl stuff, and I was kind of like a skeptic. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I was out there for practice, and I was like, actually, holy cow, they're amazing. And, you know, the girls, like, they'll talk to me. Like, they love them.
Good.
They absolutely love them. I know Joy played for Connor, and I honestly think Connor's probably one of the best coaches in all of St. Louis. And I
cool.
send him my film, and he'll watch it, and he's so good. And Cole's great. Like, he's just the best human. So, yeah, they've done a great job. I hope, selfishly, I hope they don't go to the guys' side in St. Louis. I hope they always stay on the girls' side because it's so good for the girls.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear that. They're a great family.
Yeah.
It's cool the way they stayed in hockey to approach it from that route of coaching, and then they're also doing like that school as well. Yeah, just a really cool avenue. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I know there's more that I wanted to cover, but I feel like we've covered a lot of what we wanted to talk about. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you wish we had?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would say one thing. So I know you mentioned where people feel like I've had this amazing, great career. And I think optically, like with me and my family, it has been great. But I think what people would be surprised to hear is that it's probably been one of the biggest areas of like just disappointment and things that have not gone our way at all. But really learning to wrestle well with this, like disappointment's going to happen. And I think where my family, where we've had our success, and I think this is what people see without being able to name that, is being able to wrestle well with disappointment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be the one thing that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you're going to have to wrestle with it. You may as well wrestle well with it.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
And does that, in terms of disappointment, you mean in the past maybe you built up expectations so high to them?
You have these dreams, you have these goals, you know, like you want to hope. Like I would say don't ever lose your hope, but sometimes you're just hoping for more, you're expecting more, you're okay, this could be the chance I finally like have this breakthrough, or this could be the chance I finally get my opportunity, and it doesn't not go how you've planned. Like I know, I was so excited for the Olympics. It was really, really tough, probably very disappointing experience for me. Like my experience was quite disappointing.
In Beijing.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, then you're like, then what? You know, and so in navigating that, or just, I feel like there's been, again, just so many things where, yeah, like just really expecting a breakthrough in mindset or a fair shot or someone to see you differently, and it doesn't happen. So then it's like, well, how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
So I think that's where, because people are always like, to me and my siblings, so you guys are so successful. And I'm like, oh, they're like, it must be so great. I'm like, it has been great. Like we've had opportunities, but we've also really wrestled with a lot of heartbreak too. Yeah. So
it's like 5% glory and 95% just getting beaten down.
Yeah. But I think it's in the beat down where you get dialed in. Like you have to figure out the cycles, you have to figure out the patterns, you have to do the heavy lifting of who am I, what am I about, you know, what are the things that help me? What are the things that hurt me? Who are the voices I can let in? Everyone has an opinion, but which ones are you going to allow into your life, and which ones are you going to say, hey, no, thank you for that? So, and I think that I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't learned all those things along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those are very valuable lessons. Interesting. So, and you think that the idea of that like planted seed growing, that concept is the primary concept that's remained with you and helped you face those things?
Yeah, you don't grow unless you get a little bit crushed.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call it there.
Cool.